live, Michael. How are you?
I am awesome, Martin. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really, really well. After all of this discussion around open source and how great it is, we can now finally be live. I'm super happy about it.
I love it. I've never been a bigger supporter of open source than I am today, and I've always been a big supporter of open source. So let's just
Yeah.
leave it at that. Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to AGTP Daily. We go live every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time to discuss the most important tech stories in the U.S. Today is Tuesday. Tuesday, right, Martin?
Yep, Tuesday. Yeah.
The 28th of April, 2026. There's a lot to get to today. We want to talk about Snap CEO Evan Spiegel says distribution is the only real moat. This is fun. Claude deleted a company's entire database in 9 seconds. I think you'll have something to say there. And then the last piece of news, Martin, rural communities in the USA are pushing back against data centers, which makes sense. And at the end of the show, we will also be joined by Patrick Murphy, CEO at Togal.ai, to explore how AI is transforming construction, starting with pre-construction and estimating, and what that reveals about automation in traditionally slow to digitize industries. That should be super interesting, Martin. Let's get to the news.
Let's go. Super
Let's do
interesting
it.
episode, Michael.
Yeah, so Snap CEO, a guy who doesn't do that much talking, was
True.
talking recently, and he made a really important point. I thought this was kind of cool. And his point really was software is not a moat. And maybe at some point it was, but you know this from writing your own software anyway, right? It's so easy. It's way easier today to write software than it's ever been. And his
Yep.
thesis here is this, and he knows this firsthand, right? Features are trivially copyable, like very easy to copy. If you think about it, Snap, I'll call it Snapchat because I think it was Snapchat back then, invented stories. Instagram stories was just a complete copy of what was going on Snap.
Yeah.
So unbelievable feature, when they rolled that out, it was super popular. And then Instagram was just like, yeah, we can do the same thing, right? Swipe navigation was cloned. All the AR lenses stuff that they had was cloned. All this kind of stuff is just easy to do. And his whole point here is that distribution is really the only mode. And right, and we talked about this too. Like a lot of the conversations we have around like what kind of company is Apple? Do they write software anymore? Is their hardware super important? But really what they are is what?
Yeah, a distribution mechanism right now, right? A distribution platform actually, right? Like for all the hardware, all the computers, all the iPhone. Like we can see today that Apple is way more used as a distribution platform for the AI solution than an AI builder, right? Like they don't build any AI, but they are used to distribute other people's AI. So that's really cool.
Yeah, and what's funny is it's not even like other people are using them for a distribution. They are turning themselves into
Yeah,
the distribution channel. It's weird, right? In other words,
yeah.
it's like they're getting taken advantage of.
hmm
It's like
hmm hmm
they're actively going, we have 2.5 billion devices out in the wild. What are we doing?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Why don't we use them as a distribution mechanism and get paid for it?
This is really interesting because like back I don't know 5 or 10 years ago, like we were seeing search engines, social media platform
Yep.
as the distribution for other things, right?
Yep.
But
Yep.
now it's actually turn around. Right now it's
Yep.
actually
It's
the
reversed.
hardware because like these companies like Apple, for example, or like Snapchat as well, they build super good hardware that are used by tons and tons, hundreds of millions, if not billions of people. And so yeah, now you can actually use this for distribution. And so when you think about it, I think it's a new idea, but it's makes complete sense, right? It makes complete sense. And we've told on the show there is plenty of different e- example where Apple is actually distributing something, right? Like through their
Yep.
network. So that's really interesting.
So one of the other things that I've found fascinating actually over the past, I don't know, 10 or so years is that Google actually pays Apple $20 billion a year to be the default search engine on their devices.
Wow, it's 20 billion. Wow.
Yeah, somewhere between 18 and $20 billion annually. What's even more interesting is it's roughly 17% of Apple's operating profit and a
Oh,
significant portion of its services revenue. But let's get, I just thought it was interesting in the context of like distribution, but let's get back to
yeah.
the Snap story, right?
hmm hmm
Because Spiegel, sorry, go ahead.
No, actually, I think like the Apple comparison makes ton of sense, right?
It
Like I
does.
mean, like
Yep.
like 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 the Apple is actually a super great example of how hardware can be used for distribution at scale of somebody else products, right? If like 17% of their operating profits is just a deal for Google to remain the number one search engine in the world, then for sure, then you can think about that. Okay, look, guys, we are going to do the same thing, right? And so,
Yeah.
so maybe that's also part of the mindset here from the Snap team.
So it is actually. Let's get to
Yeah.
this. One of the other things that Evan Spiegel, who's the CEO and actually the founder of Snap, also said was that in the 15 years since Snap was founded and rolled out, so it was like 2011,
Mhm.
only 2 major social network products broke through.
Mhm.
Only 2. Right. Now, we talked about it before we started recording. So we did the podcast before the podcast. You can't even pretend that you don't know what they are.
I found the first one though. Like in all transparency for the audience, I thought about TikTok. That was
You
like
did. You got it
number
right
one.
away. I was actually not so
Yeah.
surprised because it's
Yeah.
you're the demo for TikTok anyway, right?
I don't know.
I mean, not really.
I'm
You're
not
the
a
age
user.
demo. That's not even really true. You're way too old for TikTok.
Way too old, Michael, for TikTok. I
Plus,
don't
your
use TikTok.
soul is too old for TikTok. Like your actual physical age has nothing to do with your soul age, which is probably like twice as old.
Maybe, probably.
Anyway,
But so yeah, but so I thought about TikTok, but I couldn't think about the second one. So you in the audience try to think about the second one before Michael give you the answer. But yeah,
so
that's
while, so
actually
while so while the audience is thinking about it, Martin, do talk to me about like what did TikTok have to do though to be successful? Because there were plenty of other social kind of
mhm.
consumer-facing products that just didn't work. But
Yep.
what did TikTok have to do?
So like a lot of people, says that it's just because they had a great platform, the virality of the content, the short form, type of content that they basically invented, right? Like we saw
Kind
the
of.
first shorts of on TikTok. But like in all fairness, they spent tons and tons and tons of money in marketing, right? Like if they
Billions.
billions of dollars. I have no idea like if they ever went profitable because I don't think TikTok ads is making any money. Or if it's making money, it's super small compared to the other platforms. But yeah, like they spent tons of money to build like the two sides of the marketplace, either getting people to be the users of the platform, or also to pay creators to create content on the platform as well, right? So
Exactly.
it was a really expensive platform to build. They spent a lot of
Very
money into that.
expensive. But
Yeah,
again, its success was driven really just by tons of marketing, both
tons of marketing. Yeah.
on the content creation side, and then they made it
Agreed.
free for viewers, right?
Yep.
So they tried to sell it to the viewers, but they also paid a lot of people a lot of money to actually build stuff. The other one for people that are still trying to figure this out is Threads, which is a Meta product or a Facebook product.
Yep.
But again, it didn't. And the point that Spiegel's trying to make, that the Snap CEO is trying to make here, is that Threads really only succeeded because it inherited Instagram's entire user base.
Yes. Like they put like a lot of links and buttons everywhere in the Instagram app. They say, "Hey, go to
Still,
Threads," right? Like
they still
still
do it.
now.
Yeah,
Yep.
they
This.
still
I
do
mean,
it. I go on Instagram and they just
yeah.
say like, Bob, who you follow on Instagram, just posted on Threads, and I'm like, I'm not going to Threads,
Yes. Yeah.
but plenty of people do.
And it's true that they used their own distribution platform, right, to promote Thread and to be like an over social media plus. Like the timing of the launch of Thread was actually really good, right? Like they did that at the time where like I think Elon Musk was acquiring X, right?
Yeah,
If
yeah.
I'm not, I mean
Yep.
acquiring Twitter and then changing
Twitter.
that into X.
Yep.
And so there was like a lot of talk about, what is going to happen to the platform. Is it good? Is it good anymore? What is Elon Musk going to do with
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
X? And then super fast, I remember Meta was like, "Hey guys, that's Fred." All right, so like
Right.
this is Fred.
They rolled it
They,
out of nowhere.
yes, they rolled it out of nowhere, super quickly, and then they use their existing platform to promote it. So I have no idea like how big is Fred. Like, I don't use it myself. I use
Zero.
X, but I have no idea like how many users go there. What's the adoption, and like I don't know if there stuff happening there. I really don't know how big it is.
So I don't know exactly how big it is either. I do know that when it first rolled out, it was not a finished product
Yeah.
because
Okay.
I tried to use it and I went there and I'm like, I don't even know what to do here. And I'm pretty good
Okay.
with like, I'm an early adopter of all kind of these software platforms and I just didn't know what to do and I never went back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But again, I think I was reading a statistic today that said across the full Meta platforms, right? So that I don't think it includes WhatsApp, but I think it's Instagram, Facebook, and Threads. There are 3.8 billion daily active users.
3.8 is like half the
It's like
world
everybody that
people.
has an internet connection, maybe monthly active users. Let's just go with that.
Okay.
It's a lot of people. But anyway, the point is that like building these platforms is not the moat, right? I mean, sorry, building the software is not the moat. And the point that Spiegel was making was, and this is going to get back to the hardware conversation, is that there are really three things that are. One is an ecosystem, and Snap's Lens Studio, which is one of the things that you and I were talking about before, has millions of community built AR lenses. Yeah, that thing.
Yeah.
Okay. And platforms. So 8 billion or more daily AR lens posts on Snap come from the people that are in that community.
This is crazy. I didn't think it was so big, huh? Like
Neither
8
did I.
billion people. Yeah,
Neither did
8
I.
billion. Sorry, 8 billion posts per day, right? So
Yeah, per day, Martin.
it's crazy.
What are
Yeah.
we doing? And then the last moat is hardware. And this gets back to the Apple conversation. And hardware has been Snap's biggest bet. They've been building their spectacles AR glasses for the past 12 years,
Yeah.
right?
I did not know it was that. I didn't know they started such a long time ago. Right, like 12 years ago seems a long time. Because when we spoke to the Snap team, like I don't know, a few months ago,
Yeah.
they told us that we are launching the spectacles this year, right? Like I think it was it's a new, or did I get that wrong? And they were launching like a new version or a new
Yeah.
product or something like that, or did they launch really in like 2026? Like we would need to ask them, I think.
So there's some interesting stuff going on. I would say they started building in earnest
Okay.
like 3 or 4 years ago
Mm-hmm.
because just the technology was not there. We can go all the way back to Google Glass, right?
Yeah,
Which was a
something like that.
terrible, terrible product, which was not a fully formed product either.
Mm-hmm.
But these spectacle AR glasses, excuse me, you couldn't even really build them in earnest until like 3 or 4 years ago because just the miniaturization and the technology that was needed to make them actually useful.
Yeah.
Right, because even Facebook or Meta rolled out their Ray-Ban glasses 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Something like that, yeah. Something
But
like
they
that.
have, interestingly enough, and I did a little bit of this research beforehand, right? Because just to put this all into context, in 2013, so 2 years after Snap launched, I could go through this rhetorical thing, but we already know the answer. Mark Zuckerberg, because he was so afraid of Snapchat back then, offered Evan Spiegel $3 billion in cash.
In cash,
It's
no
like a
stock.
drug deal. Do you know what I mean? It's like a suitcase with $3 billion in it. Here you go. Give me my stuff kind of thing.
Mm,
It's like a midnight mafia deal. I shouldn't say that because then it's going to come out. He said no.
That's
But in the
crazy.
interim, what is it? Snap's revenue is like $6 billion a year, but they've been working on this hardware stuff for a while. And it's a little bit unfair, right? Because Meta just has way more resources. Their revenue is $200 billion a year.
Yeah. Yep. But it's really interesting because like look, Snap started to work on that 12 years ago. Google was the first mover, right? Like they
Yep.
launched their
Google Glass. Yep.
glasses and it was terrible and there were
Yeah.
tons of
It was terrible.
backlash against it and they stopped, I think, right? Like I don't know
Yep.
what the status of the project now, but they are definitely not in the discussion, right? Then after that, Apple did the Vision Pro, right?
Yep. Yep.
Meta in between did the Oculus with the metaverse and all of that, but that was like a different use case. Apple Vision Pro, same kind of different use case, but not super successful, right? It's not like, okay, it's doing very, very well for them with this product. And then Meta launched the glasses and it looks like it's on fire,
It
right?
looks like it's on fire. Yeah. You and I looked
It-
this up again
yeah,
and we were shocked at the revenue.
short at the numbers, like $2 billion of revenue, 3x growth year over year, like really crazy. And now Snap is also doing this. So
Right.
it looks like first of all the timing is much better than
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was before.
For sure.
And maybe you're right, like part of this timing discussion is actually maybe like the quality of actually what we can do, right? Like maybe now it's actually possible to create a good product,
Right.
which was not the case before. But so yeah, that's really interesting, like to see the history of this product, right? That was not new, but now it starts to be the moment to actually do it, right? And so I really would love to speak to either Ivan or Mark to ask
Yeah.
them like, what was
I
the
want to know more
vision
about
from
this.
day one, right? Like, what was the vision from day one, right?
Mm,
Why 12 years ago you thought about like that was the one thing to work on, why it was important for you, right? And why as well do you think that only now that we actually can make that happen, right?
yeah.
Because
So go
when you
ahead.
look at the success of Facebook, it looks like Snap can also be very successful with it, right? I don't see any reason why they that would not work for them as well.
No, I don't. I completely agree with
Yeah.
you. And here's the other interesting thing. You mentioned like Meta's or Facebook's revenue for this is $2 billion a year. Yeah? Or is it $2 billion a year or $2 billion in total?
Good question. I don't remember. I don't
But
remember.
let's say it's two.
Yeah.
Let's just say it's $2 billion a year, which it very
Yeah.
well could be. That's
Yeah.
1/3 of Snap's revenue.
Yeah. And it's like in a very, very short period,
Period of
right?
time.
In
Yeah.
in 1 or 2 years, right? Like they got there. So
But here's the thing. Like I do. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, and I don't know. I go back and forth on this. I do think it would be super cool to have glasses that
mhm,
had some augmented reality.
mhm,
Um,
mhm.
what's the word I'm looking for? Features. Yeah, like
Yeah.
really think it would be super cool. Because one of the things that I do when I go to these conferences is even for people that I think know me, I'll always say my name. Hi, my name is Michael Waits. We met somewhere else. They'll be like, I know who you are, but they'll never tell me their name.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
forget. But if I had the AR glasses on, it would be like, that's Martin Runford kind of thing. Because most people think that you remember their name, but even if it's just like knowing their name, it would be super cool to have.
Yeah, it's possible that, the day we try and the day, we have access to it and we actually try, maybe we will be like, oh, wow, all of these new use cases, I didn't even think about it, but it's true
Yeah,
that
yeah,
it actually like is a huge help, right? Like, because we don't know what we don't know, right? And it's always like the balance with tech, right? Like, it's really hard to say, okay, we like this product or we don't like this product before we actually try it, especially when it's a whole new category, right? So
yeah, yeah,
so it's true. Like, I mean, like the example of the conference that you just give, like I can see myself doing the same thing, right? Like I've talked
yeah,
to so many people pre-events, right? And from
yeah, yeah.
their point of view, they talk to way less people, so they remember me, they know me, and all of these things. But it's happened sometime. I'm really sorry to say that, but sometimes
No, no, no.
I
It happens
just
all the
don't
time. But
remember,
here's
right?
the other thing, Martin. Remember, we were talking about this before we started to record. We made
Yeah,
that list of all the people that were going to be on the show, and it had a
yeah,
picture of that person there.
yep, yep, yes,
So imagine a
exactly,
scenario
yeah,
where, imagine a scenario where, I have the PDF in front of me. I'm looking at my iPad. I
yeah,
see the picture because I was scrolling to see who the next guest was, and then scanning the audience to the crowd to see like if they were there yet.
yep,
But imagine if the glasses saw the next guest, and then I looked up, and the glasses identified the person in the crowd and said, like, your next guest is here.
yeah, and then it goes to the CRM, so it knows exactly like like what are the questions, what are the information. You have like the timer as well, like you need to start with that new guest in 2 minutes and 45 seconds.
Whatever. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, and then maybe you can also like display the questions for you, so you don't have like an additional screen, right? Actually, there's tons of
Tons.
use case for
So
us.
again, I was thinking about this as you were talking. I was thinking,
Yeah,
I need to go pick up your headphones tomorrow.
yeah,
If I had my AR glasses on, I could just tell them, remind me tomorrow morning to pick up
yeah.
Martin's glasses.
Yes, that's true. That's
And
true.
then I could go get the glasses, and then I could say, tell me Martin's home address, and then book a Grab motorcycle to come and get it. And here's the details.
Yep.
And it could do all that stuff for me. And then the Grab bike would just show up. I'd give them the thing. They'd take the picture. They'd bring it to you. And then it would be super done. But now, and this is one of the things that Evan Spiegel was saying.
Also, actually, I just had another idea, Michael.
Go ahead.
Like now, you know very well what you look for because you know my headphone. But imagine I need something specific in the studio that you may not know. You should be able to call me so then I can see through your glasses, through your camera, and so I can
Yeah,
tell you,
just
okay,
go, yeah,
go
which
up,
one
go
is,
down, turn left, take this one, right?
because right now we do that. We do this all the
Yeah,
time.
with the phone.
And you just go like this kind of thing. You're like, I can't
Yeah,
see it or whatever. But if my eyes are looking directly at the thing,
exactly. Yeah,
and this
yeah,
is the point that Spiegel was making actually, is that the moat is the hardware,
yeah.
and that the hardware should be hands free,
Mhm.
because in your real life, your
It's so
hands are
true.
free, but now you have
I
to use the phone.
I hate to have something in my hand. Like
I hate
really,
it.
this is something that that I hate. Like really,
I
just
hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
like we have two hands. We are so capable as human being with two hands. And why
Yeah,
do I always need to carry something that basically block half of my
exactly.
capacity to do something? Right?
So this happens all the time, Martin.
I
Like when I
hate
go to
it.
get a cup
Yeah,
of coffee in the morning, I have my
yeah,
phone in one hand And I have my coffee in the other hand. Now, how do I swipe the card to open the door?
yeah, yeah. No, it's
But
true.
also, go ahead.
Imagine that in a QR code first country like Thailand, maybe
Yeah,
like
yeah.
we can pay directly with the glasses and all of this thing, and it can be so super nice. Huh? It can be super nice.
I have a lot of use cases for this.
You are going
Even
to be
quality.
convinced, Michael. You are going to be convinced. We need to try. We need to get some glasses and try.
But no, but just I'm going to say this. I shouldn't say it, but you never go grocery shopping,
Never.
but I do.
Yeah.
And sometimes I have to buy like fabric softener
Okay.
and detergent to wash my clothes.
Hmm.
But I live in Thailand, and they're not going to change the titles on the products into English. It's all in Thai.
Yeah.
And so it would be great if I could just look at it and it automatically
Life.
translated from. Because right now, what I do is I take a picture of it, I give it to ChatGPT, and says, "Is this detergent or is it softener?" And it works like a charm, but it would be better. Again, I have to have it in my hand. And do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. For live translation, like the same way Google translate that, so you can use Google
Exactly.
Translate material if you want to do that. And we have like a camera feature, but it's actually that you can just like
Um,
put the camera and it translates in real time. But yeah, if it's directly into the glasses, that would be super helpful, right? But I think
yeah,
that this is just like edge cases. That we're only talking about like edge cases of people like us that may not be like millions of people who want to do that, so or even like billions of people. I wonder if there is like one or two or three use cases that would be helpful like at that type of scale, like to much more people.
so I have a ton of other ideas on this. Like,
Mhm.
imagine if your eyesight is really, really bad,
Yeah.
but
So
then, and
correction, yeah.
imagine if the glasses have like telephoto lenses on them, because at some point they will.
Hmm.
So it allows you to see really far away.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like, there's so many things you can do if the cameras are actually really effective and high
Yeah.
powered.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
true.
the
Actually, that's a
point the
good point.
point of this is that
Hmm.
it is a distribution mechanism, and it's not easily copyable because you can't just like cut and paste it like you can with software.
Yeah,
And this was the
true.
point he was trying to make. We spent the last 10 minutes talking about use cases for it,
Hmm.
but it would be almost impossible for you and me to build those glasses, but we could definitely rewrite our own CRMs.
And especially in the age of AI, right? Especially in the age of AI, where building new softwares, writing code is getting so easy, and
Exactly. So
and
it's
the
not a
barrier
moat.
to entry is really simple. So it was already simple before to copy features, but now it's
Yeah,
like next it's even easier and even faster. Even non-developer people now can build stuff, right? So
exactly.
it's really crazy. But yeah, hardware is a completely different story, right? Like
Yeah,
they
and
didn't
it's
get better.
years of iterations. Like, think about it. You
Yeah.
built something today, it took you 2 hours. You iterated a bunch of different
Mhm.
stuff. We don't have to talk about it what it was because it doesn't really matter. But you built your own product. It
Yeah.
took you a few hours to build it. The initial product took like an hour. The rest of it took like another hour to like iterate it, fix it, make it better, do whatever you wanted to do, details. But like,
Mhm.
you couldn't build these glasses into it. Do you know what I mean?
No, it's true. It's true. I mean, like we had maybe an attempt, to make building physical product easy through 3D printing,
Printing, yeah, but still,
but it never really. I mean, like every video I've watched on YouTube of people building stuff using 3D printers and I mean real useful stuff,
yeah, yeah,
they always need to build like crazy models before that, right? Like they
sure,
need to
sure,
do like
sure,
the engineering that they have to know and they have to master to be able to give to the 3D printer exactly what the 3D
right,
printer needs to be able to build something useful is
right, right,
just absolutely next level, right?
exactly,
It's definitely not something that you and I, without any knowledge, can do, but AI can build software without any knowledge, right? So,
exactly.
so it's really interesting that we see that yeah, the hardware is becoming the moat. It's not surprising at all, right? And the scale that these guys can reach makes it completely make complete sense to become distribution mechanism for other things.
Okay, let's talk about our next topic, Martin.
Actually,
Claude.
Michael, maybe just before we go
One more
there,
thing. Go for it.
just one more question for you. Do
Cool.
you think
Go.
cars could be the next distribution mechanism for something else?
So I've been talking about this for
Yeah. That's why
half
I
a
asked.
decade. Don't get me going.
That's why I asked.
Don't
It
get me
looks to
going.
me like cars is the obvious next step for
Right.
hardware that become a distribution mechanism.
But again, so this gets back to this topic of like hardware is hard, right? It
Yeah,
really is hard because even Apple that spent billions of dollars on Project Titan gave up,
yeah,
or at
yeah,
least
yes, yes,
outwardly gave up. So
yeah.
think about how hard it is to build a car, which then
Super.
has to make you think how much time and energy or how effective did the entire ecosystem that got built up around the Chinese EVs and HEVs, right?
Hmm.
How good did it have to be to actually birth BYD, GWM, all these big Chinese EV makers?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Because
yeah.
Apple couldn't figure it out, or at least outwardly they're saying they couldn't figure it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. Cars are going to be because they're mobile as well. You're always in them. If you're in places like Bangkok or Jakarta or places where there's traffic,
Yeah.
I mean, I can go on and on about this.
Especially tomorrow when it becomes like autonomous driving, right? I don't know if this is going to happen anytime soon, but if it becomes, something that people actually do, then when you don't drive, you get to do something else, right? And so we already have like massive screens into cars nowadays. So what about
Yeah.
the movie? Like, what about comes with a Netflix
Stock trading, stock trading,
subscription?
Bitcoin trading, everything. Yeah.
Start trading to starting to have access to the internet everywhere, right? Like
Everywhere. Yeah.
all of these things seems completely doable in a very very soon future, I think. And
Yep.
I actually saw much like on X a post of someone. I can't find it super fast, so I can't show you, I'm sorry,
It's okay.
but he said basically that instead of taking a flight, that's like a few hours flight, he used his Tesla in self-driving mode, and then his Tesla basically brought him from point A to point B, and during this time he could work, he could sleep, he could eat, he could do everything, and so basically the self-driving became a way to replace the flight.
Sure.
And when you think about
Sure.
it, it makes ton of sense, right? That it's
Who
so
wants to
much more
check in, go
comfortable.
through security,
Exactly.
sit with other idiots? Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
nobody wants to be on a plane.
Yeah, it makes so much sense, right? Like for domestic flight that are like not too long, right? Like 3, 4. Like I mean, when it's 2 hours flight and you can just turn that into a 5, 6, 7 hours drive. I mean, it's something that, and basically the point of the post was, I may think about upgrading my Tesla to the more comfortable version because now actually can use it instead of flying,
Yeah, because now it's
and
actually cheaper than it seems because I never have to get on a
it's
plane
way
for
cheaper.
domestic flight. Yeah.
Yes, and because electricity is not that expensive, right? To do
No,
all of these
no, no.
miles with EVs, and so it was like, yeah, it's much more, it's much cheaper, much more flexible, and much
Im-
more convenient as well, right? And
Imagine
I
in a
thought this was,
imagine in a place like Thailand, Martin.
yeah, yeah,
Right, you don't own a car,
mm-hmm,
but you could rent a car.
yes, we can
And
rent a
imagine if
car,
you guys wanted to go away for the weekend.
yes,
Like Phuket is a pain to get to. It's not a pain because it's only like a 1.5 hour flight, but you got to go to the airport, you got to check
yeah,
in, you got to get there early, you got to check your luggage, all this kind of stuff. But if you could rent a car
that you could
and
drive with
then
yourself,
with your family, whoever it is,
yeah,
you could like watch movies, you could have food. It's autonomous driving. You get to Phuket in like 6 or 7 hours or whatever it is.
it's
You
nice.
would do that every single time because then when you get to Phuket, you have a car.
When you have a car, then you're, yeah. No, it's true. It's true. It's true.
Anyway,
It's true. So that's why maybe cars could be the next, the next distribution mechanism. Let's watch it closely.
yeah, and your car could actually communicate with your AR glasses as well. There's no
Wow,
reason why not.
imagine.
Anyway,
Super.
okay.
We can go to the next topic, Maya.
I mean, I could go days talking about autonomous vehicles. Anyway, so a Claude-powered AI coding agent deleted a company's entire database, Martin, in 9 seconds.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about this? Do you want me to talk about it? How do you want to do it?
You can start first, and then I will add a thing from my own experience.
Okay. So a Claude-powered AI coding agent wiped an entire company's production database and all its backups. This is the company's problem, I think, because of the way they structured where their backups were. We'll get to that too. The 9 seconds, I think, is a little bit gratuitous because, like, how long does it take to delete something? I think anytime something gets deleted, it probably takes 9 seconds,
Yes,
right? But
yes,
it's still
it's
just
true.
everything got deleted. And the company that's being referenced here is called Pocket OS. It's a SaaS platform that serves car rental businesses across the United States, and it literally happened 3 days ago. So what happened? Cursor, right, which is again one of these popular AI coding assistants, which was running Anthropic's Opus 4.6, And it was hosted on Railway. This is where it gets really interesting. And the agent had been given access to a CLI, right?
Mhm.
Do you want to explain to people what CLI is?
Command line interface.
Command
This
line
is,
interface, right?
yep, yep,
For
yep.
people that
So,
don't know, they were given an API token, and the agent was just doing a routine task, stay in the staging environment,
mhm, mhm.
and it hit some kind of credential mismatch. Didn't know what to do.
Okay.
So this is one of the problems. You and I talk about this a lot with AI. If it were a human, right? So if you had given me that task and I was a software engineer and I gave that task and I had a I had a mismatch in the credentials, like I couldn't, because what does that mean? I couldn't log in.
Yeah.
What would I do? I'd come back to you and go, hey Martin, I was trying to do this task that you asked me to do,
Mhm,
but the
mhm.
password's not working.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, here's the password. Or
Mhm,
change the password or whatever. But
mhm.
AI agents don't give up.
If they don't live, they are trying to be helpful and sometimes
They're
way
just
too
yeah,
helpful.
they're like a pit bull that has something in their mouth that just keeps shaking their head really hard until it like bangs up against the wall, whatever.
Exactly.
So instead of stopping,
Mhm,
it just
mhm.
decided on its own to fix the problem. Now there's so
Wow.
many things wrong with what happened here, right? Because whoever, because you employ agents all over the place now, right? Inside of our
Mhm,
company.
mhm. Yep.
But you don't give them access to your wallet. Do you know what I mean? Like you build guardrails around it. You make sure it just has access to the things it needs access to.
Mhm, mhm.
But whoever built this agent,
Yeah.
whatever.
So,
So
yeah.
go ahead.
So you okay? So I think here there is really two different problems. Okay.
At
So the
least,
first,
but go ahead. Go
yeah,
ahead.
but I feel like two. For my like my first feeling is like two different problems. The first one is it's absolutely crazy that the agent can have access to so much power, right? Like
Yeah.
he definitely
Who said that was okay?
yeah, like there is something wrong in the way that they implemented AI into their company, right? Like
For sure.
the AI shouldn't be able to delete production database at all, right? Like, it's just not something that should happen. The same way you do not give the delete like this kind of access to someone who just started your company
No,
in one
they don't
day,
have super
right?
user access. They can't
Like they
SU
don't
into
have
super user for the command line interface. No way.
exactly like when an intern joins your company, they cannot just like just delete the entire thing if they want. So there is something wrong in the way that they onboarded AI into their company. They give it way too
Please.
much access,
Yeah, yeah.
and yeah, unfortunately, they paid a really big price for it. So I think
But
this is
again,
yeah.
the agent went out and tried to fix the problem, and it looked
Mhm.
around and said, "Oh, I'll just delete the railway infrastructure volume."
I delete the thing that asks for the password. So then, because I don't know the password,
But
it's
but
going
the
too far.
railway infrastructure volume, for people that don't know, means permanently destroying a dedicated, persistent block storage resource attached to a service, resulting in the irrevocable loss of all data stored within it.
Hmm, hmm, hmm. And this
What are
is
we
bad.
doing?
This is
So
really bad.
great fix by the AI.
Super. Super, super. Plus, like they say that they actually like had thankfully a database that was 3 months old, and so they could restore this one. But like 3 months in the age of software is like it's so old, right? Like I mean, if you have any client that are doing stuff like on a daily basis, and you have like tons of clients, you just can tell to your people actually we are doing 3 months back, and everything
but,
that you've done in the meantime you just lost.
right, but also
Is
what kind of so I don't talk about this a lot, but I was a Unix systems administrator when I was at Morgan Stanley before I
Mhm,
joined the trading desk.
mhm, mhm.
And I was actually responsible for all the backups. Now back then the backups were done a little bit more. I mean, we had an automated system for it, but they were actually like on tapes.
Yeah,
But they didn't live on the same
yeah.
volume as the real data.
I was about to say that it was segregated into a different server, and like so for you it was a physical thing, but you put that into a separate environment because this is the goal of the backup, right? Like just in case there is a problem with the main environment, you can actually restore from a different point, right?
Yeah.
If it lives at the same place and then this place crash, then your backup is useless, right? So there's no point in doing the backup. Yep. So I would love to speak to the CTO of this company to
No,
understand like
well, that CTO is probably fired, but yeah, you could probably speak to them at another company because that is ridiculous architecture. No,
yeah, I mean, I don't want to judge before we have the version to the
yeah,
story,
fair
right?
enough. Yeah, fair enough.
But from the outside, definitely, this is not something that should definitely happen, right? Like it should shouldn't happen. But so I think that that's the first part of the story. The second part of the story, Michael.
Go ahead.
This morning, I had actually a very interesting chat with a friend of mine who worked into a startup, okay?
Yep.
And he's a developer, so he knows how to code himself, right?
Okay.
And so during the last few months, this company has forced him to use AI because he was like, not using it much. And they were
Forced.
like, yeah, we really have to use AI because
So like Claude Opus, Claude Code to like write code for him.
yes. So they use Claude and Chat GPT, sorry, GPT Codex as well.
Codex,
So
yeah,
they
whatever.
use both.
Yep.
But so they were like, okay, you get to use that. That's the future. That's absolutely amazing. You need to like start learning AI and use it. So that's what he did a couple of months back, and now he's really really good at doing this. So he's like, okay, this is really really great. I love that for my job. And this morning he told me, Michael, that he was
Oh,
like shocked because the salespeople in his team start to ship features on their products. And he was like, this is ridiculous.
but the
Now,
salespeople are shipping features.
they ship features on the product. So basically, the salespeople, they need something, and instead of asking the developers to do it, which is normally what you do,
Yep.
the CTO of the company thinks it's a good idea to actually let them build the stuff by themselves using
Okay.
AI as well.
That's not a good idea.
So,
Not
here,
today. Next year maybe it's a good idea, but this year not a good idea. Sorry. Go ahead, Martin.
and so my friend, he was like, to me it's absolutely insane because these guys, they have no idea at all about like what is good code. The code that they ship is all AI, nobody reads it, and so
Right.
it's like really really bad code compared to what I can do, right? And he was
Right.
like, right now it may be fine, but if we keep doing this, that in 6 months or 12 months, just going to be completely impossible to
It's a
maintain.
nightmare. Yeah.
No one's read this. It's absolutely crazy.
Right.
And so my point here is that this may lead to problem like this because my
Yeah.
friend
Yeah.
knows what is at stake. Like for example, like we discussed this morning with my friend. We were like, look, if the sales guy asks something to the AI and the AI replies something like, okay, I understand, I'm going to do it, and do you need this database there? The sales guy, no idea what is the database, is working on a button that does something else, and then he may say, no, I don't need it. And
And
then
it deletes it.
the AI may understand, okay, if you don't need it, then we can just remove this, right? So this is the type of scenario that if we start, to give the power of AI to people who are not, who don't understand tech, and
Yeah.
we don't have the tech background to understand what the AI actually means when he asks you, hey, do you need that? Or
Mhm.
what type of consequences this type of question can have, right? And then on top of that, if the architecture is wrong and the database is, and the backups are also on the same type of storage,
No.
now you can run into these type of problems, right? Like
This is a nightmare.
where the sales guy just say, no, I don't need this. The agent want to be useful, just delete the database. Everybody seems to be happy, right? Until the next person needs the database and then see that it's not there, right?
But also no
And
code review, no check in the code, check it out. Do you know what I mean? Like none of the things that real software developers do, right? Because even your friend who's using whether it's Codex or Opus, right,
yeah,
or Claude Code,
yeah,
he or she is still like acting like a software developer. They're
yes.
checking the code out. They're
Yep,
doing it in a staging area. They're not putting it right into production. They're testing it. They're code reviewing it.
yep,
They're versioning it. They're doing all the things that a developer
yes,
would do.
yeah.
Whereas the sales guy is just like, I don't
Just
know,
want to
my
have the button.
customer needs a feature right now. Boom, make the feature, roll it out. 18 other
Exactly.
things could break, right?
Exactly. And so because these people, they don't have the technical background and the AI knowledge to understand actually what is going on behind the scene, that's where this type of problem can happen, right? Like because
Sure.
now you don't really know what is the AI going to do, and the pilot of the AI don't understand neither what are the consequences of the wording that he used, right? And so
Yeah.
that that's why I think like it is a real challenge because on the flip side, if your entire company is able to ship stuff, you're gonna be way faster, and that's why
Sure.
like that's how this company of my friend justifies it to him because he raised his hand. He was like, "Hey guys, is this really a good idea?" You know, he was like, "I am not sure we are going into the right direction." And the CTO of his company said to him, "Look, we are the smallest company in our field. We don't have the most funding, so speed is our advantage. We need to be
Right.
faster. We need to build faster. We need to be able, to build teams, to be competitive, and all of these things, and which makes sense, right? Like from a competitiveness standpoint, if you're faster and if you can build more things, that's good. But so
It is, Martin.
yeah,
But like
yeah,
we talked about this. Let's give like a really good analogy here. Speed is really important, right?
yeah,
But if you put somebody who doesn't know how to drive behind the wheel of an F1 car, what are they going to do to it? They're going to drive
exactly.
it into a wall.
Yeah, and they may die.
They're probably not going to die, but they're definitely going to drive that car into the wall because those cars are almost impossible to drive if you don't know how to do
Impossible.
it. So I get the
Yeah.
speed thing, right? But it's a little bit ridiculous. And here's the other thing. If it's a startup and if it's the smallest one in its sector, right? Just in general terms, sales are hard for small companies.
Yep.
So if this, let's say the sales guy or the sales gal builds like a couple of features and then just goes, I quit. Do you know what I mean? And then go joins like a bigger company or some other company where sales are easier and they can get more commission and stuff like that. Like you have no control over
It's true.
versioning, which is not the most important thing, but one of the most important things. I think it's a terrible idea.
Yeah, it's true. Like it's true that if we start to give that type of power to the salespeople who don't really need to be developers, nor
No,
normally,
no.
if they leave, if they go to another company, then it creates some new kind of problems, right?
Right.
Um, on the other hand, one of the things that I really love with my AI agents is like, when they are specialized into doing something, for example,
Sure.
sales, then they are way better developers because they have all the sales context, right? So it's something that I really, really like. I don't have like an agent that just does code. I
I got it.
use my sales agent, my marketing agent, who knows what they need, basically because of all the context and all the specialization that they have to actually build the next feature that they need, right? But I'm still the pilot, and I understand tech. So maybe that's where it's slightly different.
Right. But
But
I would
yeah,
but I would say this, Martin, if I'm the CTO, right? Because what he really wants or she wants is development velocity. They want
yes,
speed.
yes, on speed.
But that means and this is why your friend was forced, and I'm putting it in quotes, to use
Yeah,
Codex or to use
yes,
Claude Code because they
yes,
wanted the development team to have velocity.
yes.
But let me ask you a question, Martin. Do you want me to start building agents?
Why do you think, Michael, you don't have any access to our agent platform?
That's my point. And I'm not stupid,
No.
but I don't want agents either because I don't want to break anything.
Exactly. This is actually the only one reason why we don't have anything built for you yet. It's because I'm scared of this type of problem, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
because because I mean I don't know, like you are not every day thinking about the
No.
agent, so you can make a mistake in a very easy way, and something that
Yeah.
is not intentional, right?
No. No.
Once again, if the agent has to, hey, Michael, do you need this database here? You may understand, no, I don't need that. That's not for me, right? But the agent's intention might be to delete it, and you have no way to think about it because you are not every day to intake, right? So
But you also built the whole environment. So in your
yeah,
head, there's this
it's clear.
there's this
Exactly.
map of the environment.
Yes.
I don't have that map at all.
Yeah,
Zero, because I haven't been involved in building it. But inside your head, you don't have to ask yourself, like, where is the database? Where is the CRM? Where is all this stuff? You just know where it is because you've built it.
yeah.
So when you ask your agents to do something, and because you're really good about giving it specific tasks and specific permissions only, you don't just go like, okay, every agent has access to everything, but I just want you to do this. It's like all you know
Is
is the
visibility.
CRM. That's all you know,
Mm-hmm.
right? Do these tasks.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what these guys did at Pocket OS.
Nope.
They were just like,
And
okay, everyone's a super user.
yep, and I'm really sure this is just the one example who made the headline, but there is way more than that. I'm
Oh,
sure
please.
there is like in every company there is disasters like this right now, right? And actually, like, do you remember like all the super great conversation you had with plenty of guests on the AGTP podcast, right? Like
Yeah.
basically saying, hey, implementing AI agent in enterprises is super hard, and this is one of the problem, right? Like
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
like who is going to be responsible if something goes wrong? Obviously, we don't want anything to go wrong, but AI agents are not deterministic; they are probabilistic. So which means they are not going to do the same thing every time you do talk to them.
right.
So which means if you give them access to really key part of your infrastructure, which is, by the way, one of the only way they can be very useful, because if they don't have all the access, then what they can do is limited. So their usefulness is also very limited. So there's this balance to find, right? But yeah, that's one of the main issue when you want to implement AI agents into an enterprise. And I would say most of the ideas that we had on the show were on the very careful side, right?
Yeah,
It
for
was like
sure.
let's be slow, let's do absolutely nothing, right, to avoid this type of problem, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I can imagine that the software that gets written for Pocket OS, right, is doing some pretty sophisticated things,
yeah,
right? Because it's trying to manage, rental operations. There are just a lot of moving pieces there.
yep.
But because it's probably a relatively new company, or other companies like it are relatively new, they're not running massively complex environments where there's all this like cross pollination. But imagine a company like
An insurance
Standard
company,
Chartered
yeah, bench.
or some of the big banks that we had on the show last week, and just having some rogue agent go out and like do random things. You
Hmm.
could literally have like hundreds of millions of dollars at stake. It'd be worse than just losing a database, which
Yeah,
is
it's true.
bad.
Yeah, it's true. It can be people money, it can be people information, it can be like tons of even worse stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I mean,
And
like
and the
you
and I
saw
was gonna
that with
say,
the algorithmic trading, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
If all of a sudden your algos go crazy, it's a bad idea.
Yeah, and I made a little note to myself because I wanted to say it's like the more complex the environment is,
Mm,
the more dangerous it is as well to have
yeah,
agents running around doing stuff, right?
yep, for sure.
Anyway,
For sure. And plus, like, it's actually another really good point because the more you build, especially if you're not techie, so going back to the example of the salespeople who ship features, the more you build, the more it becomes really hard to know what's actually going on, right?
yeah,
Because
like always, yeah,
if you don't have a knowledge base, if you don't have like one main person who is responsible for the architecture,
yeah,
then
yeah,
6 months from now, who actually knows what's going on, right? And if this answer is nobody, then this is where things starts to be really problematic, right? So
right,
I mean, AI agent are like a technology that is 6 months old, right? It started to be good like only 6 months ago.
right, right.
So it's normal that we don't know exactly how to use that. But yeah, I'm sure that there's way more example like this one, and a lot of companies are like, ah, why did I do that, right?
One, one more thing before we switch topics,
Mm,
but like when you write code, yeah,
yeah.
do you put little notes on it to say what the code is meant to do?
So I don't do I don't do notes inside the code, but what I do is I always build a skill for my AI agents about the code that we have built that is
Right,
like a knowledge base of what is actually going on. So for example, when I build the new feature this afternoon at the end, once everything is working, I said to the agent, look, now build the skill to actually explain everything that you have done, what is the
right,
structure,
because that's
what
important too.
how thing works, because the next time we are going to work on it, I want the agent to have all the context and all the information, right?
Right.
So that's the goal here. Yeah.
Yeah, so annotating code is actually really important as well, and I don't think that
Mm,
the salespeople at this startup are going to be
yeah.
annotating code, right?
Nope.
They're just
And
because
this
it's
is
not their.
and to be fair, the salespeople at any startups, right? Like it's
Yeah,
not only
yeah, yeah.
them.
It's
It's
not
like
just your friend's company.
it's absolutely everyone. So that's why this idea of vibe coding has always been weird to me,
Yeah, same.
because at some, I mean, it works for small stuff or for in internal small stuff, but as
Sure,
soon
sure,
as
sure.
it's production, as soon as you get customer data, and AI agents have 10x this, right? Because now they can do way more autonomously, and if you don't understand what's going on, you are going to run into problems, right? For
Exactly.
sure. And that's one example of a problem. I'm sure there's plenty of them, and that's not the last one we are going to to see, I'm sure. So mm,
Okay.
be aware if you are deploying AI agents in your team that things can go wrong. And yeah, actually, if you can give some tips to people that we don't have much time left, so I would be Twitch, but like the number one tip would be like be very careful about what type of access you give to your agents, right? Like
Exactly.
make sure they don't have the power basically to delete something that is important.
Right.
So that would be the first thing, and then the second thing would be make sure that your team that use the agents is actually like aware of what's going on, right? So for example, the sales people, they may not be the best position to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
So make sure that the level of access is related to the level of knowledge that people have regarding your infrastructure. Don't give pseudo access to absolutely everybody, basically,
No.
right? That's why, Michael, do not have access to the agents because we do not
I
have.
don't want it either.
But at some point, you will, and the reason why you
Sure.
don't is because I didn't build this framework and this
Mm,
architecture to prevent bad things like this to happen, right? And I don't have time to build it right now, so that's why I
no.
don't have access to it. But this is something that we know and that is super super important, and that everyone should do as well in their company.
Right. I mean, I could give more commentary, but I want to cover this last topic first
Yep.
before we welcome our guest for today. Yeah.
Let's do that. That's an important topic too.
Okay, so I want to talk about this just for a little bit. I do think it's important. I do want to point this out. Rural communities. Martin, we spent a lot of time talking about data centers and building data centers and
Yes.
how like everybody and their brother wants to build a data center. The question is, where are you going to put them? Where's the power going to come from? Where's the water for the cooling? And all these things matter, right? And are you going to build it in space? Like all these different things matter. But you cannot build a data center effectively like in LA or in New York or in Boston. There's just not enough space for it. These things are huge, and we'll get to how big they are in a moment. So where are they going to go? They're going to go into rural communities. And these rural communities sometimes can have like 5,000 people in them, 2,000 people, 7,000 people. They're small, which means they don't have a lot of leverage. So if someone just wakes up and says, we're going to put a data center here, they're starting to push back. They're starting to push back. And again, in the same way that like Pocket OS was sort of a metaphor for everything else that's happening in the agentic AI world, right? And how it could be a little bit dangerous. There's a small town in Pennsylvania that feels like it's becoming ground zero for this data center backlash. And it's a town called Archibald, Pennsylvania. It's got 7,000 people in it. And one of the key things there is it used to be a coal mining town.
Okay.
So it has had 6 massive data center campers proposed with inside its board, just proposed. And if they actually built these things, it would cover 14% of the town's total land area. It would like be building 51 Walmart supercenters in their town.
Oh wow.
Yes, I wanted to put it in that context so you could understand, because when you're thinking about like how big a data center is, that would be 6 massive campuses. It would be like building 51 Walmart supercenters.
51. Wow.
Yeah. So
In a small
5
town
separate. Go ahead.
in a small town with 7,000 people. That's crazy.
But Martin, also apparently one project called Wildcat Ridge would draw up to 3.3 million gallons of water a day. Another one would have 360,000 gallons of water from a Lake Scranton, which is nearby. The plan is to have 450 diesel backup generators, which we're going to have exhaust fumes, right, in the town. And the other thing that's really interesting, right, is because it's an old coal mining town. The land sits on top of old underground mine shafts. I don't know if you know what a mine shaft is, but they would build these mines underground and then mine the coal from them. But like you can't put heavy stuff on top of them because it could break.
Okay. Wow.
So now you run the risk that like there are a whole bunch of different little problems here. And on top of it, there's this whole concept of like eminent domain.
Okay.
Where like countries say we're going to build a highway.
And
if your house is in the way, you have to move your house. And there are plenty of stories in the United States where people are just like, you're going to have to build a highway around my house. I've had this house for 150 years. My grandmother was born here. My son was born, like all this kind of stuff. And you see these highways, they go like, and then just go back around.
So people manage to keep their house in the US?
They sue, and they're just like, well, that guy's been living there.
Okay. Oh, wow, that's
and he doesn't want to sell at any price because, on the mantle over the fireplace is a picture of, his uncle or his grandfather, Hubert, who, came from the old country or whatever. And I'm just not moving.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Somebody could be buried under there. Um, but like, there's definitely tons of pushback here, and it's just interesting, right? Because there's also a mobile home. These are trailer parks, right, where people
Yeah, yeah,
live.
yeah.
And the trailer parks are like people don't want to move. They've been living there. They have little jobs maybe, and they just don't want to. They don't want to move out of their neighborhood or out of their town.
Hmm,
And
hmm.
people are fighting back. So I just wanted to talk about this a little bit because, as great as it is to build all these data centers to do all this work in artificial intelligence, it's just interesting that like what's happening to some of these rural communities where it looks like they want these data centers to be built. And I think this is part of because it's energy usage, water usage, cooling usage, generators, all this stuff, plus also displacing people.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of the reasons why that 50% of the data centers that have been proposed have not even started getting built yet.
Yes. 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 And we can see on the map here, but look, like they have like one, two, three, four, five, six, seven that are proposed.
Yep.
One, two, three are delayed, and one is withdrawn.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, they propose like what? Seven plus like 13 or 14, and out of them, like zero as starting so far. Zero. So,
Yeah. So Pew Research, which is a pretty well respected research company in the United States, calculates that 67% of the 1,500 new data centers in the pipeline are planned to land in these rural areas.
okay.
And again, they're just competing with farmland for water and electricity.
Okay.
And I think if you read through some of the other data here, it says that in these small towns, the utility that's there that's supposed to provide electricity doesn't have enough electricity to provide electricity for these data centers.
Huh. So
Right.
what are they doing to do? I mean, like the people who build the data centers, they invest like huge amount of money, right? Like it's like we talked about that on the show. It's like
Yep.
the Oracle, the Terafab, the
Yeah. Yeah.
OpenAI. Like it's massive amount of money, right? So when they want to build this, they must be aware, right, of like what is going on with the electricity that they are going to need, right? I
Wait,
guess.
so one of these laws that they're trying to pass is that if you're going to build a data center, you're also going to have to build electricity for yourself, and you're going to
Mm,
have to pay for it so that it doesn't impact what other people are in the neighborhood or in the area are paying. And apparently, more than 150 groups across the U.S. have managed to block or delay over $60 billion worth of data center investment in just over a year. And here's the thing: the people that are proposing the data centers, and fair enough to them, they're promising like jobs and tax revenue. But the reality is, if you just think about like what's going on in a data center,
mhm, mhm.
it's just a warehouse for computers, right, and
Yep.
servers. So not that many people actually work there.
Okay. 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 Okay.
So it's not providing a lot of jobs. I just think it's an
Okay.
important point to make that, like in the context of all the stuff that's happening in artificial intelligence and all the need that we do have, the more stuff we do, the more data we're saving, the more we need data centers. It's just like where are we going to put them? And I don't think this is going to end. Think about it: over $60 billion worth of data center investments were canceled in just this year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is definitely crazy. But also like we take this example, but there have been a lot of news in the last month, right?
Yeah,
Of
yeah.
like
Yep.
this type of village, this type of areas, like also like there have been like an entire state just saying like, hey, we don't want any data centers in our state, right? So there is some backlash, right? There is some backlash of like, okay, we don't want these things to be in our region.
No, 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 no.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the backlash is apparently pretty bipartisan in the United States, which is pretty
Mm.
interesting too. If you can get everybody to agree on one thing or another thing in the US, it's pretty amazing. And pretty bipartisan. If you live in a small town, you definitely don't want to have 51 Walmart supercenters there.
For sure. 51. This is crazy.
Okay.
This
Anyway, I
is
just want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, no, this is definitely real. This is something that we are going to follow, right? I feel like to
Yeah.
me, like one of the question is, I mean, this is an example where they want to build a lot of them, right? And I think this is part of what's different here, because a lot of the other stories that we saw were more like, okay, we don't want data centers, but they were not like planning to build 10 of them, right?
Right, right.
So I think this is like the first example that we see where there is actually a big plan to build a lot of these data centers into a very
Wow.
small area, right?
And they're campuses. Remember, they said campuses, which means that they're going to have a bunch of different buildings, not just one
Yeah,
data center.
yeah,
It
yeah,
was
yeah.
proposed in this small town in Pennsylvania.
Yep, exactly.
Okay,
Exactly. So Michael Patrick joined us.
that's awesome. Should we bring Patrick onto the show?
Let's bring Patrick on to the show. Patrick, can you just do like a very quick microphone test? Just like enable your mic and say something. Perfect. We can hear you perfectly. Let me bring you to the video. Give me 1 second, and then we will bring you on the live. Du, du, du. Okay, super. So I will leave you two guys, okay, and have a great chat. All good? Perfect.
Patrick, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing super. Look, let's just jump right into this if that's okay.
Sure.
Where are you based?
Based in Miami, Florida.
That's not
How
fair.
about you?
Not Miami, Florida, although I've been in
Okay.
Miami, but not based. I'm in Bangkok, Thailand. So like we could argue about where it's better, but I think we both live in great places. Look, we wanted to have you on the show because we wanted to talk to you about how AI is transforming construction. I think this is going to be a really interesting conversation. And starting with pre-construction and some of the estimating that happens at the beginning. But before we do that, can you tell us a little bit about Togal? Am I pronouncing that properly? Togal.ai.
It's actually Togal.ai. The name Togali means builder in Gaelic, which is the Irish language. I'm Irish, happens to end in AI, so it all worked out. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, I'll give you a quick background. So I was raised in a family construction business, worked in all aspects, worked in the field, worked in the office. CPA by training, worked at Deloitte for a bit, and then I got elected to Congress in 2012.
Oh,
And
wow.
at the time, I was the youngest member of Congress, so I spent a lot of time talking about the future of work, AI, crypto. I enjoyed your previous conversation on data centers and the politics around that. So happy to discuss that if you'd like. But anyway, I rejoined our family construction business. I'd been, gone for 10, 12 years, came back with a fresh set of eyes and realized that the single biggest piece of overhead in our business, similar to most construction companies, is estimating. And we have, 30, 40 humans that are spending over 50% of their time manually determining the quantities that are going to be built, right? An owner comes to us with a set of plans and says, hey, what's this going to cost? Historically, you use a ruler like this, right, on a set of plans, and you say, oh, there's this much drywall, this much paint, this much flooring and baseboard and windows and doors, right? Everything that goes into a job. On a big building, that can take 2 weeks, right, to 3 weeks, depending on how big it is. We had the idea in 2019 to use machine vision to automate that task.
Oh, wow.
Why should humans spend their valuable time manually determining these things? And as you know, there's numerous revisions on jobs, and there's a lot of people bidding on every job. So unlock the humans to use their brains for the higher value tasks that help them win more work and hopefully make more money. So basically, long story short, we spent 3 years aggregating data, hired 25 architects to label that data, right? Like teaching a 5-year-old how to read plans, built a proprietary machine vision model to read and understand plans. And now our users are compressing 2 weeks of work into seconds. We're in 30 some countries, got tens of thousands of users, and exciting to hopefully be, making construction a little bit more efficient because it's well overdue.
So can you tell me about this? You started this in 2019. And I'm presuming that when you went back into the family business, this idea of using machine vision and machine learning to actually do this thing it must have felt pretty radical, particularly to the people that had been in the business for like this, the previous generation and this generation. I'm presuming that somebody before you started this business, but AI has also changed a lot since then as well. What can you just run me through like some of those changes, right? Because if you're going from 2 weeks into like seconds, you must be using some of the newest technology as well. What changed that made AI adoption feel way more urgent than it did even just like 3 years ago or 4 years ago?
To your point, I bet 90+% of the company would have bet against our success, right? Really? 2019, people were saying AI, like, I don't even know what that stands for, right? What are you talking about?
Fair enough.
So, and just to set the stage for, everybody, McKinsey did a study, Austin Goolsbee, an economist, did a study, all basically showing the same thing, that over the last 50 years, there's been a 0% increase in productivity in construction. You compare that to basically every other industry, and it's up 2x, 3x, 10x, right? So construction's flatlined, and there's a lot of reasons we can get into that.
Tell me why.
So
I'm super curious why, right? Because one of the things we talk a lot about on this show and some of the other shows we do is how do you get people in an industry, not just in a business, but in an industry that's not highly technologized, but all the businesses around them with whom they're interacting, right? Like your financial services companies are all using like the most bleeding edge technology. How do you get them to start adopting this technology? Because once they do, then like the Pandora's box is open, then they just keep doing it more. So what was getting in the way?
So it starts off with the fact that basically all buildings are unique. Unless it's a track home community, the soil conditions are different. The architect's usually different. The engineering team, maybe the code has changed in a 3 or 5 year period. Architectural trends change over 5, 10-year periods. Subcontractors and general contractors and suppliers and materials. And the next thing you know, there's a COVID or Suez Canal gets clogged, or Straits of Hormuz, right? So now you got to get new suppliers and new pricing, right? So all these things go into construction though, right? So every job is different is the point. And at the core of that, architects are artists, right? So they are designing these dream buildings for their, owners, the developers, and there is no standardization on how they draw. They can draw a toilet how they want, or an electrical socket and a wall. And so there was really no technology that was affordable to process the nuance that went into construction plans.
Right.
And that pre-construction phase where, just say you are trying to design your dream home or hotel or condo, that's 12 to 18 months often, because you're going back and forth, you're making changes, you're getting budgeting and financing lined up, you're talking maybe to investors, right? There's all these moving parts and you're making changes. And architects are responding to that. And it's this living, breathing document for months and months. And so it ends up being very data heavy. And again, pre-AI, there was nothing that was affordable to process that information until now. So you combine that with, most budgets and, pre-construction and throughout construction, most folks operate in single digit margins. So there wasn't, just a ton of cash to be reinvested in technology, and there's really no evidence that was going to change things. So combine all that, and it's been industry reluctant to change, but we're seeing that change rapidly. Every day we have new people coming to us saying, hey, we need AI. I want to adopt. I want to change. I want to be, ahead of the curve. What do we do? So I think in the next 5 years, you're going to see major changes in the industry.
So that's going to be the next question. Once you actually convinced people, so you did all this work over a 2 to 3 year period of time, you labeled everything, you had the architects label everything, you built this machine vision tool or set of tools, which is more likely. And now that it can look at plans and say, I don't know exactly, but we're like with 98% consistency, I know how much drywall I'm going to need. I know how many nails, like all these little things.
Yes.
Now that you've proven this to people, how has it changed the way they design things? How has it changed the way they price all this kind of stuff, right? Because now they have way more leverage to price too. And if there are construction companies that are doing this and other construction companies that aren't doing this, I presume the ones that are doing it have way more leverage and way more power than the ones that aren't. Yeah.
We were just talking to a customer who we asked to give us a quote and do a referral. And they said, no, I don't want anyone to know about this because it's such a good advantage that I have over my competition, because they're getting 10x more bids out the door.
So that's what I want to know.
Yeah. And so basically, again, if you're compressing the most time consuming part of estimating from days or weeks into seconds,
right? What
it does is enable the human then to focus on oftentimes value engineering, being able to re-engineer the job and save maybe 5 or 10%. Now you're aligned with the owner, you're going to win more work. Scoping, making sure all the bids that you get are apples to apples, bid leveling, right? And what is really helps is for a lot of our smaller companies that work with us, they want to grow. In order for them to grow, you got to have more revenue. How do you have more revenue? You got to bid on more work and do more estimates. How do you do that? Historically, you had to go hire more estimators. That's $100,000 a year plus. Now, all of a sudden, with an AI tool like ours for $3,000 a year, you can get a lot more output. So what we're seeing is humans happier in their job because they're doing higher value tasks, not coloring and, in essence, using a ruler. So it's all around, it's a win-win for everybody.
But how about on the client side, right? Because you're right. If it's a relatively complex project, and even if it's not, like I bought some land and built a house in Tokyo. We went to 3 or 4 different architects and actually contracted with 3 or 4 different construction companies to see who could give us the best bid.
Mm-hmm.
If one of them is using your tool and comes back in like 15 minutes with like an estimate, and the other 3 say, we'll get back to you in 2 weeks, like what's going to happen to those other guys?
I think it's going to be like
what's the client response, right? Because how do they even believe that this is true? Like, this is my question. It's like, what's the biggest implementation challenge, particularly when you're dealing with the customers? Because what they're getting from 3 other people is not what they're getting from one other person. You know what I mean?
Right. So I think, look, there's still an art to estimating. Don't get me wrong. AI isn't the magic wand that just is everything. There's still very much a human involved for now. But I think over time, over the next 10 years for sure, there's going to be more vertical integration. I think definitely what you just said, those laggards, like every other industry that do not adopt to technology, are going to find themselves struggling to keep up with those that are adopting AI. And this is, as I know you believe, a transformative technology, and folks need to get on this train and start adopting and figuring out how to use it, because clients want the speed. Time is money. They have expensive carrying costs. Every day it takes you to get an estimate out the door, they're paying interest. They have employees, right? Yeah. Everything else in the land. So they're going to start really focusing on those clients, those customers, those contractors that are using AI and getting the bids faster. And what this enables is, for them to get better output and then align themselves with the owners and save money for them.
So this is the other question: is what are like the second and third order impacts of this, right? Because you mentioned financing. If I know with more, what's the word I'm looking for? With more assuredness, how much material I'm gonna need. Like if I can get closer, and instead of being like 50% right, if I'm 75 or 80 or 90% right, then downstream the ordering is going to be better. My relationship with my suppliers is going to be better. I'm going to have to borrow less money. I'm going to have to pay less interest and all this stuff. What are those kind of downstream impacts?
So oftentimes, because the plans aren't fully mature yet, contractors and subcontractors will build a lot of buffer into their estimate, and they'll go to the owner and say, hey, here it is. But behind the curtain, they put 20% extra because they didn't have the time. They didn't have the plans that were thorough, and they're just trying to protect themselves, because the flip side of the coin is if they miss something and they put a bid and they win it, it's on them. Right. And companies like literally go bankrupt because of pre-construction going wrong. I mean, most experienced folks in construction will tell you, the job site matters, but money's made or lost in pre-construction. If you bid the job wrong, you're dead. You're going to go work for 2 years for free if you got that wrong. And owners, they don't want contractors. There's no benefit for them if 3 contractors come with 3 different quantities, just say, of drywall.
Right.
Like, that's not what they should be fighting about.
No.
Here's what the drywall is. Here's how much. Now you all tell me how you're going to install it, do it the best quality way for the best price. Like, that's really where the conversation should be. So to your earlier question, I believe owners are going to almost start mandating tools like ours, hopefully, are being used. So the fight isn't on quantities and counts. And again, they don't want something to be missed, because what if they're on the 15th floor and the subcontractor forgot a whole floor of windows?
Right.
Now what happens? Now it's 6 months. They got to go order it. Like, no one wins in that scenario.
No.
So better to have the AI do that sort of, that work, and then the humans do the higher value tasks.
So what are those higher value things, right? You've mentioned this a couple of times. How does like an estimator's job change? Because before, they, like you said, they'd have to probably work in teams. They'd be at this for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Now they can do it in, let's just say, hours or seconds. How does the rest of their job change? Is it just doing more work, or what is the higher value add kind of stuff that they can do for people that aren't familiar with how construction works?
Sure. So a lot of conflicts arise in plans. Again, these are living documents. They're evolving over months and months, and things get forgotten. It's not malicious, but sometimes there's conflicts. And easy examples, maybe there's a HV, AC line, trunk line for your air conditioning that's going through a column. You get to the job site, it's under construction, and now what do? You've got this big trunk line coming through. You've got a big, a drain coming through a slab that wasn't planned for. Now it's in the middle of someone's living room. Uh-oh, you got to move that pipe. So I'm simplifying it, of course, but
For sure.
going through these conflicts ahead of time. And what usually happens is people struggle to imagine in three-dimensional terms or multi-dimensional terms because they're seeing plans on flat 2D documents.
Yeah, I'm bad at that,
and
actually.
these buildings are dimensional, right? So that's a big part of the story. So the great estimators are great at imagining all these different plans coming together, deconflicting that. So that's a huge value. Then how do they re-engineer it to save money? Can they just, for example, remove some steel from the building? Maybe it was over-engineered and there's a big transfer slab with all this concrete and steel. Maybe they can just on that save, $100,000 on the job. Maybe they found a new supplier of windows or doors. That's going to be maybe better quality and less expensive. What happens is they spend so much time doing these quantity takeoffs, they don't get to do those kind of tasks. You get to the job site and then you start to figure it out, and then it takes longer. So do it early on in pre-construction, everyone wins.
So now that this has been successful, you've figured out like how to convince people to actually use this. Do you feel like there are other places as you look at your business over time where artificial intelligence, particularly as it's getting developed faster and faster, right? The space is moving really fast right now. We spend tons of time talking to tons of companies about where they're implementing artificial intelligence. Do you see other places inside the construction business, inside your business, where you feel like if we apply artificial intelligence to this too, we can become way more efficient and then we can be better, not just at estimating the jobs, but at actually completing them? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, Martin, it's one of the biggest struggles I'll say that just we have, but most tech companies in construction is trying to be narrow and stay focused because there are so many opportunities to disrupt this industry. And there have been very few new breakthrough technologies in construction over the last couple decades. So I would say department after department, there's an opportunity to find an efficiency. And I think since we're starting at such a low baseline, with AI that's happening in 10 years, it's going to be unrecognizable, the changes that are coming. And I'll just, project forward a little bit. I believe in 5 years from now, if you want to go build a new house, a new basic apartment or hotel, you're going to go on to an AI tool, hopefully like ours, and you're going to type in 4 prompts, the address, the budget, the style, and then the use case that you want. You want a 5-bedroom house, 6 bathrooms, 2-car garage in Bangkok on, 101 Main Street.
Right.
You're going to get a full set of working construction documents that says not only what kind of drywall there is, but what's the assembly behind the drywall? Is it aluminum studs, right? What's that fire sprinkler? Where does that connect to, right? What size line is that? And the electrical breaker, what's the power, required? All the details that go into building a building, right, takes months for engineers to determine that that's going to be automated with AI because a lot of these problems have been solved. And companies like ours that have tens and tens of millions of data points now can start to learn from that and project that forward.
So I try to think about all this stuff in the context of ecosystems, and this is kind of a little bit complex, but I'm curious if you're thinking about it in this way as well. The construction companies are not unrelated to the architects that are actually designing and building these buildings, right? Whether they're single family homes, they're condominiums, or they're like big, whatever they are, right? But then the suppliers as well are also connected, whether it's the drywall or the steel you were talking about, or the door supplier or the window supplier. Do you see this sort of, like you said, 5 years out, only 4 prompts, but connecting with artificial intelligence and in some ways maybe using agentic AI to keep track of the project as it's going along, and even from the beginning, right? Because I have to believe that the estimation is like the top of the funnel for any project getting built, and the bottom of the funnel is when the building is completed. Yeah.
Yes.
But in the interim, there are all these little moving pieces that could potentially be fundamentally connected together with artificial intelligence across the board, meaning the suppliers, the architect designs the building, it gets sent to you when it's finished immediately through some sort of artificial intelligence mechanism, which then allows it to go directly agentically into an estimator, which a human is overseeing. And once it gets approved, and again, I'm simplifying to make the point, then it starts actually ordering some of the stuff that needs to get done. Do you see this happening? Are you thinking about that in the context of what you've already built inside of your own company?
100%. We're already starting to build some of those agentic workflows. And I think you outlined it well from the top of the funnel to the bottom. Within each of those buckets, of course, there's dozens and dozens
Sure.
of small workflows that need to be built out.
Yeah.
But there is no doubt that agents will be doing a great deal of the work in construction. A lot of it is data heavy.
Yeah,
A lot of it
very.
starts with a source document in the plans, right? And then from there, the agents can do a lot of tasks. You mentioned procurement, negotiating and buying materials, figuring out the shipping, right? Agents can do that.
Yeah.
They can pay for it.
Let's not give them credit cards yet. We've had problems with this. Not us, but we've heard about problems. Let's not give them credit cards yet. But yeah, I get it.
Right, but it is coming, right? It's
It
a
is
matter of
coming, I know.
time. And the scheduling component, right? Running infinite amount of scenarios and backup scenarios for what could happen if there's a delay. AI, of course, is great at scheduling.
Yes.
Manpower, right? Determining that. When you get onto the job site, I think next 5-10 years, I think the blue collar workers are going to have arguably the best decade they've ever had. The mechanics, the electricians, right, the HVAC folk, because of data centers and all that, but also the graying of construction and many other industries. There was a report in the U.S. showing for every 5 folks that retire in the trades, there's only 2 entering.
Oh, wow.
When we have a workforce housing crisis, the point I'm making is robots will be entering construction. We are starting to see cameras being installed either on hard hats or stationary that are reading what's being assembled, determining the quality of that. Is that drywall level 5? What is it level? Based on that, they can maybe order the next batch of materials that's needed, right? Giving those reports to the owner. Hey, you're on track, or you're not on track, or this person didn't show up to work. All these things. Safety is another big component in construction. Cameras are determining, helping to flag, safety hazards. And then completion, warranty, build out. Again, it all goes back to the plans. But if you own a building and it's 10 years old and you just bought this building and the elevator breaks, okay, what kind of elevator? I don't know. I got to get in the shaft. Well, I got to, figure out who installed it. It's all in the plans, but no one uses that information because it gets lost. And historically, it was these paper documents got thrown in a closet and no one could read them. With AI, whoever manages that building is going to be able to get all the history of how that building was built, exactly what was installed, who installed it, where the supplier is, what the maintenance program, the warranty program is, and help streamline that as well. So it's a big funnel with a lot of pieces, and agents are going to help solve a lot of it.
Are you also suggesting, because if you built this machine vision, and sorry to keep you so long, but it's just so interesting for me. I hope you don't mind if you give me a few more minutes. Is that okay?
I love it. I used to be in politics, so I'll be here all day.
I got it. But in all seriousness, right? If you have cameras on some of the construction workers' helmets or wherever, do you think that it's going to get to the point where those cameras then can determine whether the drywall, and I'm just using that as a proxy for everything else, right, that's getting installed has been built to spec properly? So before it gets installed, they can understand we shouldn't actually use this piece because it's not up to snuff. Do you know what I mean? Before it gets actually put in. And then the same thing, because it's all being filmed and all the data is being gathered for 5 years out, as you mentioned, if the elevator breaks, they know exactly what was put in there. And they can just go back and reference that, either the film or the audio or the video, to then say, this is probably why it broke. There's a lot in there, but you know what I mean, right?
Spot on. There's a company called Open Space, and I've read about a couple others they're doing just that. And I don't know if it's perfect yet, but within a matter of years, it will be, right? They are on the road to doing that. And again, this helps to basically, I think, vertically align from ownership to architect, contractor, subcontractor, supplier, maintenance, and have that data in one stack, because it is so segregated in so many different domains there. Yeah. AI is capable of comprehending all of those different data sets and making sense of it. Again, think of legal, right? There's a ton of expense built into our houses and our apartments that we rent because of legal costs, because there's a lot of finger pointing like this. Well, if you have a camera that recorded everything that was built and how it was installed, there's sort of a blockchain of how it happened and who's really responsible. That's going to alleviate a lot of legal ability and I think change how law really looks at construction. So there's so many little paper cuts and components of this, but I think you hit on some important points.
Okay, one more thing and then I let you go. When we started installing, I won't even call it artificial intelligence, but when we started installing sort of automation technology on a trading desk where I was working at Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs, right? One of the things we found was that because the technology was becoming so embedded in the jobs that we had to actually hire different people because we needed to have people that actually understood how technology worked at scale. Do you feel like that's going to happen in the construction industry as well? That the type of person now, you said it's going to be the best time ever for blue collar workers, but are their roles going to change as well as technology becomes more implemented across a whole range of things that they're doing? That the type of person is going to have different skills to actually work in construction going forward?
100%. I think the most important skill for anyone in the next 5-10 years is adaptability, flexibility, and learning to learn new things. And there will be countless millionaires, billionaires created because of AI, and folks where you least expect it that came up with an idea, applied AI, agents, et cetera, to their domain that they understood, and were able to grow a business. And I think entrepreneurship is about to blossom in the world.
Completely. Agreed completely. Sorry, go ahead. I interrupted you.
No problem. So, but I do think it's a very exciting time, scary time, because this disruption is happening faster than ever. But those that, whether you're a lawyer, a doctor, a blue collar mechanic, if you can learn to use AI in your job, you are going to excel and make money than anyone else, make more. And you know, Jeevan's paradox has been true for a long time. And as the cost of AI comes down, of these data centers come down, we're going to see more of it and more opportunities, more growth. I think continued growth in GDP and hopefully abundance for more people.
Awesome. Okay, Patrick, I really appreciate your time today. Thank you for indulging me and letting me go deeper and deeper into this. I only talk about stuff that really interests me, so I really appreciate your time tonight. That was really awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you. Okay, so thank you everybody for watching. That's it for AGTP Daily. Again, thank you all for watching us. Give us a thumbs up on today's video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and follow us on all of our socials, on X, on Instagram, and on LinkedIn. And let us know in the comments, as always, if there's anything you would like us to discuss on our upcoming shows. Again, we'd love to do as much AMA as possible. Ask us questions. Leave it anywhere you want. We will be back tomorrow again at 11 a.m. Eastern time. My name is Michael Waits. I want to thank Martin Runford as well for doing this tonight as well. See you again tomorrow, and bye for now.